What's up, YouTube? Well, looks like it's another beautiful day. I'm back in the shop. This is great. Today, I get to clean TGVs today. You can tell from the last upload, they're pretty nasty. They need to be cleaned. So I'm going to go ahead and go through those. And then after I get them all clean, I'm going to run the air compressor on them, make sure there's no debris and any crevices and whatnot. And then I'm going to prep them for paint. I want to paint them. I want to get them taken care of. If I'm going to paint them, I'm going to put something like that gets pretty generally hot and heat soaked also as well, because that is a cast made part. And the top piece on of it, the intake manifold obviously is plastic. So they made it plastic because it doesn't get hot, but that MF does. So I want to paint it. So it's also going to help with insulation. It's going to help with radiation and whatnot of heat. Not actual like radiation, guys. Don't think that it puts off radiation. That's just silly. I'm talking about radiation of heat. So it's going to help with the radiation of that, and it's going to help with heat retention, blah, blah, blah. It's also going to help with any kind of corrosion aspects. So it's coated. I don't have to worry about when it gets wet. It's obviously sealed by a freaking paint. And that's what we're going to do. So with that said, I'm Bill Schneider, Rumble Garage. Yeah! Alright, so obviously, it's always going to be my first choice. I'm going to go ahead and run over here and grab the Subaru Degreaser. What's great about it, if you haven't watched any of my channel, I always use this. It is 1-to-20, which means that this bottle right here makes 20 freaking bottles. Oh my goodness. It's that freaking strong, I promise you. So that's why I don't dilute it. I tend to just kind of, spray and wipe type deal, and it immediately lifts. And what's good about it, if it's kind of like sludgy and really nasty, I can put this on here. I can let it soak, and this is not going to destroy my aluminum. I've used a crap ton of freaking this stuff, and it's never ever destroyed or left pores or any kind of staining on the aluminum. That's definitely something that happens a lot. So I'm very careful about what degreaser I use. Now, I've come across this stuff. Actually, my dad is the one who introduced this to me, so I love it, and I end up bugging them every time it runs out, which I need to do because I think I only got like 2-3 bottles left, so I probably need to do that. So anyways, without that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to soak these parts. But before I can do so, I got to take them apart. I just can't just, throw all this in a bucket and be like, ha 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 ha, done! Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump into some disassembly on the TGVs. Got to get them broken down. The only way to actually get them clean is to actually take them apart. So the actual process is pretty simplistic, guys. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the 12mm socket, and we're going to take 1 and 2 bolt out. You'll see the 2 heads here. They're pretty easy. Those are the only things that are holding the actual fuel rail to the TGV assembly itself. And you'll come over here, lift up this hose, and you'll see the 1 and the 2. We'll get those out, and then once we're able to do that, then we can lift the actual fuel rail up and off of these 2 TGVs, and then we can start going from there. Okay, so while I'm actually thinking about it, I actually want to give you a little bit of knowledge right now. So you got to see what those TGVs look like and the injector setup. We're going to be able to utilize the pink setup in this because this is all basically glorified ej255, ej257. USDM. So we're going to go ahead and jump over here to where I've got a lot of the parts that I've taken off of the ej20x that we're not going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the ej20x intake manifold up here on the shelf, and you can see that it does not have TGVs. Now it is just plugged off with casting. The reason why that is they don't have emissions. They don't have those issues. You can see in there, it's all plugged off. That would have to be drilled out, and then you would have to put on the motor and the TGVs and whatnot. There's no flaps inside of here. There's no tumbler valve. There's none of that. They don't have to have that. So they don't do it. You can see that the fuel rail itself is much fatter where it sits down here on the bottom of the mount, and the actual injectors are side fed. They're not top fed. So Yeah, when I say side fed, as you can see, they are fed through the side of the injector. They're not fed through the top of the injector like the USDM ones are. So it would take just a little bit of extra work in order to make that work. So that's not going to work. So yeah, with that said, USDM time. Let's make it easy instead of having to work hard to do that. Now, obviously, we can go with taking the flaps out of the TGVs. They are basically just some like screws. As you can see right there, that's the only thing that hold the actual butterfly flaps on themselves. Now, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get those out. I tend to use an impact driver. So this is my Mac Tool impact driver, and they're normally set in pretty good. If you go to just turn that screw, there's a really good chance that you're going to strip it out. I'm not real sure if they put the Loctite in there. If it is, it wears off because I don't normally see the color after. But I do know that they are in there very, very well, and I've actually had to drill them out before just to get the butterflies out. But that's also something that can be done. Now, you can take these butterflies out. It's going to give you a lot more flow. Obviously, the cylinder will still be there, but you won't have these butterflies that will close this off, and you'll get a lot more flow, and we can absolutely tune that out. So even though it will be moving, it will be just the actual cylinder itself only, and there won't be any butterflies moving with it, causing any less airflow or constraint. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen these all up, and then that way I can pull the butterflies out. This is all spring loaded, so what I'll do is I'll wedge in here, I'll pull this flap up, and I'll get this. The spring loaded portion is actually in the sensor itself. And yeah, I mean, they're pretty easy. If you're going to take off the sensor and you're going to go through the actual long process of eliminating the entire assembly in here, and then doing the actual cutting and then porting in here, then you know that's beyond what I'm trying to achieve and teach right now. That's something that you can absolutely do and still tune out in the same process. But for now, I just want to make it easy for everybody else to just achieve easy horsepower. Cheap, simple method. You know, you take your intake manifold off. Anybody can do this. You're going to just take off the 8 hardware bolts that attach your intake manifold to your TGV, and you know, the 10 millimeters that also attach your fuel rails to the bottom of the intake manifold, and then that way you can get to these butterflies. So then you'll get to them, you'll be able to break those loose, take the butterflies back off, and then just assemble everything back together, put it back, start the car, and then tune the car. So that's what's great about that. A little bit extra horsepower goes a long way, and not just that, it's tolerance. You know, if you're going to put any kind of tolerance on that and a restriction of airflow, it's absolutely going to put a strain on something. I mean, come on, it's relative to this, guys. You got to really pay attention to this. So airflow is everything. You know, if you're going to restrict it in the intake portion, I mean, how well is your exhaust portion going to perform? So that's really what you're looking at. Not just that, the TGVs with those butterflies on there accumulate a crap ton of frickin' heat. Now, they will retain this because you got your frickin' hand over it. That's the reason why. I mean, think about it. So all that heat, and you're trying to block it, and even if it's all the way open, you still have some kind of obstruction in the way. It's not really a great design, but it works really well for emission purposes because it restricts airflow. So that's what we're trying to get rid of, right? We want power. We don't want that crap. So it'd be so much harder to be able to use those TGV deletes back there because the seats for the injectors, as you saw, are much fatter. That TGV setup over there is actually designed for the side fed. Now, yes, we can go with adapters, but that's just extra money for the owner. And let's try and keep it cheap. Let's try and make this easy. That's my goal. Make it easy. All right, got all the screws out. As you can see right there, they ended up stripping, so I had to get some locking pliers in there and lock basically on the heads, you know, and they got kind of manipulated, as you can see, because they stripped out. They're horrid. It is what they are, you know, but it is what they are. Wow. It is what it is. They actually came out without breaking. Normally they snap, but I actually got them all out. I just had to work them all out with locking pliers. But I got my little knife shoved in here. Obviously, I just used it to pry up this flap here. That way I can get the needle nose in there. And I can pull the butterflies out. They are just like slid and wedged into this rod here, and these screws were tightened down to the butterfly, and that is what actually keeps the butterflies in there tight. So now that we've got the tensioner screws out, we're able to pull these butterflies out. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to do this and film or vlog at the same time. Probably gonna lose my knife. Yeah, this is probably not gonna happen. Nope, not gonna happen. Alright, so as you can see right here, I got my little knife in here. This is all spring loaded. Boom. So obviously don't put your knife in there and use it for a prying device. I was just using it for the purposes to show you that this is a spring-loaded sensor. It's also a good way to test if a TGV itself is working properly. So I just want to reach right in here and I want to grab this flap, see if I can do so. Grab this butterfly. And this comes up. And then we're going to slide that butterfly out. So much for sliding it out, huh? Okay, so here's the trickery. What I normally will do is take this TGV, because once I let go of this and pull that out, it's just going to slap back. So I'll take this butterfly and I'll just shove it in just like such as so. And now I can hold the other one, take my hand off of that other butterfly, because this is already taken out. And now I can work this butterfly and take that out. And then when I let go of this, it's going to spring load back. Boom. And there you go. So now it's got much more airflow, which is, definitely the goal. And it's comparison time. So with the TGV butterflies, which half of the airflow is going to be blocked off, this will close right up. Boom. And that is closed. That is sealed right off. And that is all the airflow that you will get. Now you come over here, and that's a huge difference. So whether or not the sensor opens or closes, you're going to have a significant amount of airflow. And it's going to be nice. Okay. And I said earlier that the two here are the only ones that hold on the fuel rail. I actually lied. I forgot that there is one that's actually back here that is held on. The other two over here, that'll come right off, but I forgot about that little sneaky one right back there. So I'll go ahead and I'll point that out real quick. That's right here. And that holds on this as it gets addressed and snaked underneath the TGV sensor. So we'll go ahead and we'll zip that right off real quick. Bada bing, bada boom. We'll get that separated. And we'll pull out the injectors. Slip that out. And that is totally ready to be cleaned. And you can see that there's a lot more flow in there now, which is really nice, because on the bottom here, because obviously the cylinder here that's connected to your TGV is what was flapped, it's drilled all the way through, and it's in the little pilot hole down here to where it's able to pivot on an axis and have that flap there so it's able to activate correctly. Excuse me. either dirt in my mouth. Oh, I love that. So anyways, long story short, you can see underneath here that there are dividers here. And yeah, that right there is the chunk that you would normally want to cut off, or, you know, go to Pound Town with it, you know, and just friggin' with the Dremel. And that's normally what people like to do. That, in this case, is not easy. It takes a lot of time and a decent amount of effort, because this is as deep as this TGV is. So it goes all the way up until it meets that cylinder and or this rod here, and it's actually directly underneath it. So with that said, that's a lot of work. You got to pull all that out and this off, and there's block off plates, but I don't think they make a block off plate for the ej20x, which would be easy anyways. It's just plate steel. You put the two 10 mils back in. But just explaining that was just kind of a chore of how everything all works. So imagine having to actually clean this, import this, and do the whole routing process. So to make it easy, just take the butterflies off. You're going to get a huge increase. You know, you already got 50% increase already just by taking that flap off. And yeah, you can get a lot more. So really, in all reality, we'll say that this is a 40% increase, you know, or 40% airflow. The bottom is 40%, and there's probably 20% in the middle that you're losing flow on. So you can utilize an extra 20 to, you know, 30% of extra airflow depending on how much you take out and smooth out. So that's when people say TGV deletes, that is TGV deletes. That's the process. Or you can be, you know, big bucks and order the entire thing that's all CNC'd out. And they're nice. They're great. You know, but anyways, long story short, let's get some more work done. Okay, so there we go. We've got the TGVs. They're all ready to be cleaned. Before I actually go into the actual cleaning portion, obviously, I'm going to have to pull off the butterflies in this one real quick. And it's not a fast process. It definitely ended up fighting me tooth and nail, but I got the butterflies out, at least on this one. So, you know, obviously, that's what we're going to try to achieve. You know, and then there's your comparison as far as flow. You know, you're only getting half the flow on this side. And I'll see if I can use the back of my t-shirt. And you get the idea. So we're trying to achieve more flow here without throwing an engine code. Yeah, pretty easy. So I'm going to rip these out right now and see how that goes. Probably not going to be too fun, but it is what it is, right? So they're tiny little screws, and the head that is on the bit itself that's on my driver. Oh, that one actually came loose. Okay. Sometimes you can work them loose. That one actually came loose. That one came loose. What in the heck? And that one's going to fight me. Of course, it's the last one. That's the way it works. Oh, wow. I actually got it to come loose. Wow. I'm impressed. So, normally, how the nut driver works, or the bit driver, excuse me, is you turn it in the designated fashion that you want it to go in. It's actually got a locking portion, so you would turn it all the way this way because that's the way you want it to do. And then when you hit it, it's going to make this bit turn with the momentum and force of you hitting it with the hammer. And that's what stops it from stripping. But in this aspect, it looks like we're going to be able to get away with probably just putting an immense amount of pressure down on the screwdriver without stripping these, because they're brass. These are tiny little brass hardware, and it's not even, you know, it's a little mixture of brass, just so it's a little harder, but it's definitely brass. And as you can see, they are a pain to get out. You gotta, once you start getting them to where they're just ready to start coming out, they actually almost kind of seize up a little bit. And with that seizing portion, it's harder to get the thread out. So it tends to strip a lot. And it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. You know, it's something that I've encountered often. So you just gotta push down really hard and turn so that you don't strip the hardware. And it's fun. Alright, woo, I got it. And that's one. Whew, okay. 3 more to go. Okay, so my worst fear, sorry, I'm a little winded, is that I stripped out the damn screw. So because I did so, I'm going to have to grab a lock and plier and put it right on the head of that and slowly and methodically move it out, because I can't get it off now. So I'll go ahead and lock that on there, and I'll turn it my little quarter turn until the side of the pliers hits the side of the inside of the TGV, because you don't want to score the inside and mess up any flow, because that's really the main purpose of why you're even doing this, is because we're trying to increase flow and really don't want to take away with some interference. Uh-oh, that screw head just broke off. That sucks. Man, I really hope I got that screw high enough to where I can slip this out. Oh boy. Well, welcome to my life, people. This is what it's like and what you're going to encounter if you do this. And I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to keep this as real time as possible. Okay, I got this up a little bit. Hopefully, cross your fingers, everybody, because I'm going to need some luck right now that I got that out all the way. And it doesn't look like it. I can kind of see the screw. Oh, man. Of course. Oh, man. I was really hoping it was high enough, but it's not. Still connected. That sucks. Well, probably ask, how would you get that out, Bill? You gotta drill it out. It sucks. But it's gotta be done, and it just is what it is. I'll tell you what, this sensor though, you notice there's no spring? Makes me wonder if I'm going to have an issue. Oh, there we go. Just needed to be worked. Like I said, maybe that sensor is probably throwing a code, which he was having issues beforehand. But I don't know. It's awful nasty in here. I guess I will find out when I pull that TGV sensor off and rewind it and find out whether or not if it's going to spring back. I mean, now it seems, oh, there we go. Money. So probably just got a bunch of gunk in there. So again, you know, if you've done this before, you would notice this stuff. All right. So yeah, you know, if you've done this before, that's something that you're going to notice. You know, that needs to absolutely have some spring to it. And if it doesn't, there's a really good chance it's probably got a bunch of stiction in there, which is all this black carbon buildup. It's basically everything in your fuel that didn't get burned. Now that's a reason why your octane levels should be high, and they recommend that you run 93 octane at all times, especially in a turbocharged car. And I'll be honest with you, they are bare minimum octanes that work efficiently for you. If you want to have a better burn, there are better fuels out there, and there's better ways of stepping up your octane. You know, octane boosters, and then obviously moving up the chain to better fuels. So with that said, guys, I'm not going to ramble too much on that, but I am going to go ahead and try and see if I can tap a little pilot hole in this, and basically, long story short, I get to drill out a broken screw. So it's not going to be fun right now, but it is what it is. I'm going to see if I can get out these other two lower in here, and then if I can get those out, then I won't make this job so bad, I guess you could say, because right now, it kind of sucks. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is an attempt to drill it out, get it done. You notice I'm going slow. The reason for that is you have a lot more control. Believe it or not, that bit works better too as well. Looks like I'm almost there. That might work. Let's try that. Oh, it's fighting me. I might have to go just a little bit further. Alright. Money. That was it. A little bit further. You know, obviously I couldn't tell with my naked eye, but got it done. They're all out. I can officially start cleaning this thing and get it all masked off so that I can paint it. And start attaching it to the intake manifold. We start getting this thing done. That's really mainly the main goal today, is get the intake manifold all together, all assembled, get it on the engine, and then we can start timing this thing. That'd be great. I'm looking mainly just to get the assembly done today, because I really don't want to draw out all that. And I mean, God, it'd be stupid to have like 5 uploads of assembly. Oh yeah, today assembly, part 2, assembly, part 3, assembly. That's stupid. So moving on. Alright, so we've got everything all sitting over here. I'm basically ready to start cleaning some parts right now, and then go from there. Basically for now, I'm just going to take the Subaru concentrate, give it a little soakage. You can't hurt it, and let it do its thing for now. You know? Alright, we'll let that soak. Alright, so basically everything is clean. I wasn't going to go through that whole process with you guys and do that, but it's all degreased and descaled and whatnot. I got all majority of the stiction out of it, and it was really, really bad. It was, I had to basically scrape it. And, give you a long story short, for the reason why I didn't film the purposes of actually cleaning this is because I clean the entire thing normally with this. That's a flathead screwdriver. And you're wondering, what? Yeah, I pick and scratch and scrape and do every little notch and crevice and placement that you can't get with on your fingers. And I normally do it in this bin here. Keeps it all in there. So basically, long story short, I will go through it and pick. So basically, you get all of the, the crud and the crap and the crevice down in here, and I will descale and pick and get all that crap out until voila, everything looks clean. Clean enough to where I can paint it. So I've already gone over everything here with lacquer thinner and 120 psi of air, so to blow any contaminants and wash anything away solvent wise. Now it's time to start taping. I'm going to tape off all the plastic, that way I can get this in just some silver. Real quick, 2000 degree heat temp. I see the 1000 degree, and you can absolutely do it, but I wouldn't recommend it just for the sheer fact that it's sitting right on the heads. And I mean, obviously these aren't going to be 1000 degree temperature because it's the intake manifold, but I personally, I like going a little over and beyond. You got to make sure that you got the 2000 degree. It's going to stick as far as adhesion wise, and you don't have to worry about it curling because it got too hot. So I'm going to drink my coffee, and then I'm going to start taping. Alright, everything is all taken care of. As you can see, taped off, ready to go. I've already hit it with the Bulldog adhesion promoter. It's able to be ready to paint 5 minutes, which is no joke. 5 minutes. It's all flashed off, everything's ready to go. I can start applying the heat temp paint. Boom, too easy. Let's see how this goes. So, this will be the last time you see them looking like this. They look pretty, downright corroded and whatnot. You can see the little shininess of the adhesion promoter that I have applied to it. We're going to let that chemically bond for a little bit longer. I just applied it. We're going to give it the full 5 minute mark, and then we're going to apply some paint. Alright, and they are done. So now, they look pretty good, I would say. And on to the next. At least they're all one color. I don't have to worry about any corrosion aspects anymore. And they look much newer. I would say it's a win. So that's why I take the time to scrub these so that they turn out like this. It's just the best way to do it. And obviously you don't want to paint oil or dirt. That's just dumb. Or maybe you do. That's your thing. So here, I get to bolt this to this now. Ooh, so I'm pretty happy with that. That's going to be pretty sweet. I'll be able to put that on there, and that'll look nice, and it won't look nasty. Obviously, I would love to be able to break down the short block and clean that and whatnot, but I'm just starting to run out of time, and I want to get the car done so that I can get other cars in here. Being sick with the flu and whatnot, that put me behind wicked. So being out by a week, that's like putting me behind quite a bit, especially considering the fact that I was pretty gung-ho when I was here. And then now I'm just having to get back into it. I'm getting tired just working on stuff. I'm not really 100% yet, but I'm getting it done. I'm here. It's way past 5 o'clock and I'm still here, so it is what it is. So for now, what I'm going to do is basically start untaping this. That's ready to go. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And then I can start some assembly. This thing's going to be pretty nice. I'm going to go through the fuel rails real quick. I might even address these with some paint, just kind of paint them up real quick with some silver just so they look clean. on the actual TGVs over there. And yeah, you know, you just want to clean it, you want to dress it up, especially on something like this. You don't want this corroding and causing fuel leaks down the road just because I didn't take care of it while I was in there. So that's the next process right now. Measuring out all of these hoses here. So the best thing to do is I usually have the roll of hose sitting here, and then I take off the piece, I put it next to the hose, I slice it, and I just put it back on with the new piece, the new clamps, and I just go right along, starting from here all the way over. That way I don't just take this whole thing apart and be like, oh crap, how'd this thing go back together? Because I've done that before. I'm like, oh man, what hose goes where? And it's a pain in the butt, and then I got to go find another manifold to make it work. So that's a pain. You really don't want to do that. So that's a nice little cheap shortcut to where you can just do it one hose at a time. It's going to take time anyways to do it, so you might as well just take time to do it. And always remember, don't over tighten your clamps, because that's normally a problem. People tend to think, oh, I'll just tighten that thing and it won't leak. You know, if you start seeing the rubber hose coming through the actual clamp, a lot of the times it's pinching, and you don't want that to happen. You just want it pretty tight. So right now, I'm just going to kind of skip ahead a little bit. I'm trying to speed this up. I know this upload is probably going to be a long one, just for the sheer fact that I wanted to explain the process of how I do it, and then so forth, and and so on, so that you guys could actually get the idea, the gist of it. So with that said, I'm going to skip ahead. We're going to get this thing together, and you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. And then I can start putting it on the engine behind me, making that thing look pretty, because I want to get a timing belt on this thing tonight. I already know I'm going to hear crickets tonight. It is what it is. I've already dedicated myself to staying here tonight so that I can get this upload surely done, but not just the upload, mainly because I want to get the car out of here. I'm tired of looking at it. I need to get other cars in here, and being behind is now, it is what it is. It's kind of being a little bit of a nuisance right now because I need to freaking lift.